Ta-da! What is happening out there, my friends on YouTube? Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. And looks like I got some people here. I don't know. Again, I can't see if the chat is going. Let's see. Let's see what happens when I do this. All live chat, all messages are visible. Ah, there we go. Finally got to see cool music tech. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for joining. I'd like to welcome one and all. On this channel, everybody is welcome. We try to be as friendly as possible. I mean, that's just, life. You want good things to come to you, you got to kind of do good things as well, At least try to be nice to one another, right? So I'll wait a little bit before everyone gets a chance to join in on the chat, and if they're saying hi to each other. Hans36 Solo, thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. I want to really give a shout out to all my subscribers. The names are just like, so it's starting to become like a Rolodex, and I really appreciate it. You guys totally rock, man. This is great. Some of you might not know, but I've been on YouTube since October of 2006 on my other channel. And honestly, on that channel, I never did any comments or respond. I didn't really know anything about it because we were primarily just using that channel to post videos up, because we would for people when they were hiring us out, so that they could see exactly what it is I do and what my channel is about, or what I am about as a musician, because they were literally hiring us out to play. And that actually, I was very, very, unintelligent, I want to say, on how the whole concept of YouTube worked. I just thought you put a video up, and I really didn't know, because a lot of my focus was on preparing for live performances, And when you're in that realm, you have to. That's what's making your money. So you have to focus on that, So it wasn't until I started this channel, and ironically, it literally was by a coincidence from my phone, because I'm not very computer tech savvy. And actually, today we don't have any thunderstorms, which is a good thing, because sometimes when it storms down here, sometimes I can't even get on YouTube. Videos will just keep buffering and buffering and buffering. And it's probably because of the location that we are at. It's just how it is. That's kind of a trade-off. When you move from up north, coming down here, and certain areas of Florida are like that. So, but yeah, got my Joe Winch Project coffee mug here. Give a shout out to the Joe Winch Project. Guys, check out his channel. Jim Guidry's channel, Stafford Studios channel, Hans36 Solo, Metalhead Hippie, check out his channel. He does. Randy Tritt, check out his channel as well, man. Thank you so much. I'm just jamming a little bit on the old Breedlove. This is an early version of the Breedlove acoustic. This is their Passport model. And it's the one with the, call that Bubinga back inside. I don't know if you can see that, how that wood is. And it is solid Bubinga, spruce top. Over the years, and from playing outdoors, this used to be a much brighter spruce color, but it did, it darkened. It's like playing a white Les Paul or a white Strat or a white Rhodes Jackson V or a white Kelly or a white SG. You play enough of it outdoors, man, it'll start to yellow, because it's just the way it is. Age and in the sun. So, that was an awesome looking. Yeah, thanks, man. It works great. I'll tell you what I do like about it. Cool music, Dave. How will the U.S. handle live music? No plan. Oh yeah, well, I already did a live gig at the place that's down the road from us, and we did what's called pro bono. It was a free gig, and I got a good relation with the club owner. He's been very good to me. But you know what? People are still like, it's still distance. You could, if there's someone sitting at this table, the table next to it, no one could sit there. They got to be kind of spread out. So it is starting to open up down here in Southwest Florida, little by little. I did mention this in a prior video, and it's something that we started to do, especially with the at this place that we play at, we would offer a pro bono. Pro bono simply means you offer doing a free gig. It's this is a tough thing to suggest. Andy, what is happening? Thanks for tuning in, my friend. I really appreciate it. It is a tough thing to give advice for musicians to do a free show. As you know, a lot of us, you know, the gigging world doesn't pay that much at all, unless you're gonna do with contracts. Now it's much different. Guitar Hack, what is happening? Hey, is everything opening up little by little up there in Canada? See, here's the deal. This is what I had heard, that the touring bands, and I think someone posted this up, and this information, I guess, was coming from Live Nations. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But they were predicting that there's not going to be any major festivals or concerts until the summer of 2021. No gigs for a long time, Dave. Yeah, see, that sucks. Metal Thrash and Funverse, what is happening? We are the riffraff. Are we the riffraff? No, you guys ain't the riffraff, you know? But what is happening is for areas that you can do gigs, and this is something, you know, again, this is really hard to suggest to people, but like Guitar Hack and anyone that's out there gigging, if Ed Dana, he gigs, check out Ed Dana's channel as well, and Guitar Hack's channel, and Thrash Metal, Fun Riffs, you know, check out and support each other, especially at this time, because it's going to be needed the most, man. It really is, you know. But for people who are gigging, something to consider. The clubs that you've been playing at, and or the clubs that you would like to play at. You might want to reach out to them, the club owners, and try to do this with the club owners. Yeah, most music shops open next week in the UK, but Anderton's and other, large companies are still closed. Yeah, I know Anderton's have been posting, well, I know it's been Danish Pete and Lee, the captain, have been putting up videos, and they're actually in different locations. Because if you've seen with the Epiphone Les Paul, I mean, they're beautiful guitars, man. But when Danish Pete went to pull out for the out of phase on the neck pickup at the tone, the knob came off. And Lee, he said, well, if you get a screwdriver and you just kind of widen where the tone knob, or, you know, where the little volume stem comes up, it's almost like you stick a screwdriver in there. And maybe you could just widen it a little bit and then put the knob back on. Okay, it's a $600 guitar. But even that, it shouldn't come off. But that's a minor, you know, that's a minor thing. It's worse if it's a $3,000 Gibson, and it's still just a minor thing, you know. But if you're gonna spend any type of money, you know. But my point is, yeah, Andertons is they're I think they're still gonna be shut down for a little while, and you know, until this all, you know, subsides. But getting back with the club owners, and this is a good idea to talk with the club owner itself. You gotta go through the manager. It's one thing. See, me personally, I don't like going through managers or biased booking agents. I really don't like, you know, they could do what they want. I like to talk to the guy that signs the front of the paycheck, because here's the reality. And I've had this conversation with some of these so-called managers down here. Some of them are real good, and you have some good booking agents too. You really do. So not everybody is like that. But I had a conversation one time with this manager, and she's over there trying to tell me, well, no, you got to go through me, and he wants everyone to go through me. Okay, that's fine. But now I'm talking about renting out the place. So I need to talk to the owner, because it's their place. He's got insurance on place. Us as musicians, we have insurance. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, a manager could, if they can handle it, unless it really comes from the club owner itself, and I really like the club owner to be involved. And when we do these type of gigs, Deb and I, we like to go in the office and sit down face to face, so that we could read the body language. They could get to know us. And if it doesn't work out, you know, we don't take anything. we don't take anything personal. It's everything is business when it comes down for us to do our business when we're trying to set up our gigs. Um, but that's a different story because we're talking about renting and we want to talk with the club owner. But again, when we do our pro bono shows, we still like to talk with the club owner because you see, it's ultimately the money is going to come out of the club owner's pocket, not the manager's pocket. Now, unless the manager is the owner, but the manager is just the middleman, or middlewoman. That's all. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, but I like to talk with the people that own the property. I've always been that way. Ever since I got started feeling I was getting screwed back up in Chicago, and I figured, you know what, let me talk to the owner. And then when the owner started giving me the gigs, either the manager or the booking agent would get a little bit pissed off. Well, wait a minute. Unless you own the property and it's your restaurant and you own it, it's yours. You're just a hired gun like I am. That's all it is to it, you know. And that's just that's just the way it is. But I do like to work with the club owners, and then this way, if you feel that it's in your heart to do this, to make this offer, I'm not telling anyone what they should and shouldn't do, but it is kind of a good idea to at least try to get yourself established with those club owners. Headley Scott, what is happening? I really appreciate you tuning in, man. Thank you. And again, this is a very tough subject to touch on because I'm literally saying to go out and do a free show when all of us musicians know for the past 20 some years, even longer than that, our pay has stayed the same. Good to see you too, Headley Scott. I really appreciate it, man. So now we're seeing a situation take place with all of this. The club owners have been hit so bad, man, and there's some places that are not going to, very unfortunate, may not reopen. And I even say that for the people that I might not have gotten along with or might not have seen eye to eye when I was setting up my gigs down here. But at the same time, I don't want to see them go out of business. I've always said this. When I would have a little bit of a debate with club owner, and I wouldn't let it go too far because everyone's entitled to their opinion on how they see me and how they view me, and that not everybody has to like me. I mean, that's just life in general. But I remember when these people would try to go so overboard and putting me down, and this is how I started to develop this type of a personality where I had to get a little tough, and I don't like doing that. But I had to start really standing up for myself because at some point you can only allow yourself to be shoved around for so long, and being Mr. Nice Guy all the time, I'm telling you, it doesn't really cut it. And it doesn't mean you got to be rude or belligerent. You just got to be firm and stand your ground. And that, when they see that, they're like, especially as a musician, when you walk away from a club, grab your business card and say, hey, I'm no longer interested in playing this place, and walk out the door. They don't expect that one. And I did that. I did that a couple of times, and I did it in person, and I was being very, very polite, but very firm. You know what? If you don't like me, and if you're biased against me, whatever, that's fine. This is your place. But just remember, you're stuck to this brick and mortar building. I'm mobile. I go anywhere, And as a traveling musician, we've been to a lot of places, a lot of states, and a lot of countries. And I'm not better than anybody, and doesn't make me a superstar or anything like that. It just means that we have that experience. And, we know the name of the game. The name of the game is always money. And I remember when I had this situation and I walked out of this place, I took my business card back and I walked out. About 3 months later, I was playing at that same place with Mike's band. They were doing a benefit for his old drummer that he passed away. And they were raising money. I kid you not, we're right in the same place that I couldn't get the gig for Mike and myself, but yet we're there playing. And the same lady that I took my business card from, and she was the owner of the place. She was standing right at the bar watching me play. And I was very polite, I was very respectful, and it was not my gig, it was Mike's gig with his band. But when they let me loose on only a couple of songs to solo, we were there like maybe 2 or 3 hours. I think I only soloed over 2 songs. And they said, yeah, just go and do your thing. And I did my thing, and they liked it. And she saw exactly the way I performed. And then she saw me pull myself back and then Now I'm the rhythm guitar player. And then the lead guitar player, you do what you want, everyone, and I back you up because now I'm in your band. You know what I mean? I'm getting more people chiming in on the chats. George, what is happening? Appreciate you tuning in, man. Yeah, that's how I do peen shops. Put the money back. Yep, that's right. Put the money back in my pocket and walk out the door. Yeah, Headley Scott and anyone else out there, it is not being it's not being rude or disrespectful. It really isn't. There's a thing called negotiating, and all the traveling shows that Deb and I have done throughout the last 20 some years, 20 years, yeah, it's 2020, yeah, since 2000, where we were literally going through different states and in different countries. There's one reason is that they like the way I play. So I was very blessed and very fortunate that they would hire me because they heard my music. And I'll tell you what, that is such a great feeling. But you know what? It puts you in a really, um, it puts you in a unique situation because depending on a person's personality, when you start looking at it, people are hiring you because they like your music. Then you start analyzing yourself, and then you want to give them, you want to give them the best show possible because you realize, hey, I want the best for my money, and I know they want the best for their money. And it doesn't mean that you got to be belligerent, do it as rock and roll, I'm gonna crank it up and rip the knobs off or whatever. It's how you conduct yourself with these people as well. So they would like the fact that we were easy to work with, and again, one of the big things that come into the play, besides the talent, is the money. So Deb and I, we would negotiate the price, and what we would do, we would look if, like, say, we would travel from um, Illinois, Chicagoland area to New Mexico or Arizona or Texas, and then we would try to spot the gas prices and try to forecast, how much it's going to cost us just for fuel, and wear and tear in the car, and we'd come out with an average price, and we'd always tap on a couple of extra bucks in case, because you see, we get the contract sometimes about a half a year out, or even 3 months out, where anything could happen between 3 to 6 months time with gas prices. So we'd have to accommodate that. But what we would do is we would give them one price, and they'd come back and they'd say, well, you think you could do it for this? And then just like you would if you're buying a car or a guitar, or especially a car, but you learn how to negotiate. And I've had people tell me, especially down here, that no, you can't negotiate. That's not how it works. I said, well, for the last 20 years, that's the method we worked, and it worked for us. So, I mean, maybe that's not what they do. So, this being a unique situation now, this is where it's kind of tough for me to come out and say, would you guys be willing to do a free show for the club owners that's been good to you, and or the club owners that maybe they didn't hire you, but they would like to, or they're thinking about it? See, if you come in with that type of an offer, especially if you say, hey, we really understand that you're hurting, we're all hurting, and we don't want to see you go out of business, we really do care, we want to work together. Is there any way that you'd be willing to do this? And just see where it goes. Just be, honesty is always the best policy. And the best thing to do, set up a day and time you could go down to the facility and in person. Because you see, when you do in person, they're going to see that you took the time out to come to their place. And then, I know it's kind of tough because some of these club owners, it's only like between 11 and 1 o'clock that they're available. So that is one way of working to get the gigs back. And if they're legit people, and if they're the type that would take in consideration that you're willing to do this for them, they might do the same for you, and remember your name, and remember that you reached out to them and you were willing to do this to help them out. Because a lot of us know that there are times we get burned by club owners. That happens. but there are times bands and musicians will burn the club owners. So it really is, it's a give and take on both parties, on both sides. So you really have to be aware of that. Um, and then, with the situation, if anyone's ever owned any type of a business out there, and I know there's a lot of you have, or you just haven't, but you're smart, you understand how it really works. There's always overhead that a club owner has. And then I did talk with one club owner that he will not tell me his name, and that's fine. I'm not asked. I'm not out to get people's names so I could get on YouTube and say, well, this person said that person said no, 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 no. But I understand where he's coming from. And yeah, it has to do with these copyright infringements. And he said, and there's like 3 other club owners verified this, that it costs some of these club owners about $5,000 annual to pay into these fees. Now, if you take a look, just what has been happening in the last few months, these restaurants are already struggling. So when they get themselves up and going again, these people, BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC, and any other organization out there, if they want to keep pressing this with the copyrights, they're going to keep doing it, And I know there is a thing with the fair use, but just keep in mind, fair use is also like kind of on the fence, because you see, it depends on if those people that own the publishing rights, the copyrights, whatever it is. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to pretend to be one, but I know enough that I start to pull myself away from that. I'd rather pull out of a situation that could get worse than to try to test the waters and say, yeah, but I got fair use and I got this and I got it. No, I don't. No, I don't, because you see, they could pull the plug on that, because it's no different than, you opening up a restaurant or me opening up a restaurant, and I call it McDonald's, and I'm going to do a tribute to McDonald's, and I don't get the permission. And I cannot scream fair use or anything like that, because they could legally come after me. So that's what these club owners, that's another thing that they're faced with. Now, I want to also give another couple of shout outs to a couple of YouTube channels that really are not music related, but they can be music related if you're doing any traveling, and it is in the RV industry. There is a couple called the RV Odd Couple, and they're full-time RVers. So if you type in the letters RV Odd Couple, you'll see their channel come up, and they do full-time RV living. There's another channel called Exploring the Local Life, and they're full-time RVers, as well, and they have kids, and they're doing this full-time. And you might ask, well, what does that have to do with music? Well, when we were traveling heavily, we were going to buy an RV, and we were going to do it full-time traveling. And I'm glad that we decided not to at that time, because a lot of our contracts they didn't get canceled, but everything we were doing was coming out of Illinois, and this might be a little bit tough to understand, because we were doing a lot of corporate gigs, and those were the gigs that were paying us the big bucks, and everything was coming out of Illinois. And when the state of Illinois raised all their corporate taxes, all these companies, they hit the panic button. And there was one event we were playing at that I was one musician playing in another area, another musician was after me playing that same area, and there were people that we knew on Facebook, and we got talking, and the guy said, Dave, what's going on, man? It's like the gigs are drying up. He said, I almost quit my job. I was going to go and do this full time. And Deb and I had just gotten, or we've had our CDL license, I think now at that time, for 5 years. And this is what I mean by having a backup system. When you're young, you got time on your side, do what you want, but always keep in the back of your mind, anything could happen. And if you're not financially prepared for this, you go to sell this. Right now, it's a buyer's market. It is not a seller's market. If the pawn shops are open, they're not going to take any of this. Why? They could care less if it says Paul Reed Smith, Gibson, Framus. They could care less what it says on the headstock, because all they're going to do is point to all the crap that they have hanging on the wall, and they say, I can't get rid of this. What makes you think I'm going to get rid of that? Or I might be able to sell this. I might be able to sell the Helix. I might be able to sell the fractal system, or the Framus guitar, or the Paul Reed. I might be able to, but I'll tell you what. Maybe you claim that you paid $5,000 for that Les Paul. I'll tell you what. I'll give you maybe $1,000 for it, if you're lucky. You see what I mean? So, and I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just being very realistic. And I used to work in a pawn shop, and I seen a guy come in with a Les Paul Custom, and it was called the Black Beauty, but he had it all decked out the way I would have it decked out. But it was a Gibson. It was before the Epiphones just came out, but this was a Gibson. And the most he got was $100 on a loan. He could have sold it for $200, and he got $100 loan. And I remember telling the owner, I'll give you $1 for $1 if this goes up for sale. But the owner sold it to another guy that was friends with, and that's fine. But that's the reality. That is the cold, hard truth. And that's why I tell people, before you spend all that money, make sure you want to. First of all, don't do it because I have something, or another YouTuber that's got a big channel. Never. I mean, you do what you want, but I would never follow that. Never. Because you see, I know at the end result what could happen. And if I'm not financially prepared to handle what could happen, I'm not going to screw myself, And that's just me. So, but with these other RV channels, okay, I didn't mean to go off a tangent. What is nice with checking out these RV channels, RV Odd Squad, they're great people. John is the husband, Mercedes is the wife, and they have a little daughter named Sage. They're great people. As musicians, and I think exploring the local life, it's Jessica and Robert, and they got 2 kids, a dog and a cat. The reason why I say this, if you're going to go full-time as a musician, be prepared. It's going to be very expensive out there. And do not think that you're going to have, the high-end hotels, the comfort suite. Yeah, you might have more of a comfort suite than the presidential suite at some, 5-star hotel. You might not. So if you're going to go full-time and you can afford to do this, you'd be surprised what you could buy in trailers out there, even travel trailers. And you'll save, in the long run, you're going to save a lot of money. Because you have to live out there. You have to survive. And I'm telling you, we used to sleep in our car, in our Toyota RAV, at the truck stops. A couple of rest areas, but the rest areas I don't really trust is the truck stops, because they got cameras, and they got showers if you need to take a shower. And then we did a couple of the hotels, but then there was a few times we had so many shows lined up back to back, we couldn't stay at a hotel. We had to just keep going. So you got to get rest. And Deb was doing most of the driving while I would do the rest, because I had to perform. So if anybody ever wanted to find out what life is on the road, if you're going to do this, you can talk to full-time musicians, If you don't want to sleep in your car, it's going to be very uncomfortable. And if you got X amount of shows you're planning back to back, talk to your over-the-road truck drivers. You'd be surprised. People will be willing to talk to you, to let you know how life is on the road, what to expect, all that motion, sleep in here, sleep in there. Or talk to people who are full-time RVers, and they're gonna give you some good advice. Because when you're a hired musician, whether you're hired playing with another band, or they hire you to play at their function, and especially if it's a corporate gig, you always gotta look your best. I mean, I put my hair in a ponytail, I would wear, like a tuxedo or a tuxedo shirt or something that was always dress oriented, And I would also let them know we show up early, and we're here to service you, basically. And where do we set up? We're very volume conscious, so if someone says turn your volume down, I turn it down. I don't argue with people. You can't do that. I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios that took place when people are abrasive like this. So again, before I do that, check out RV Odd Squad. subscribe to their channel. Check out the Exploring the Local Life. Subscribe to their channel. They're good people. Just because they're not playing instruments don't mean they don't have any interesting stories. Okay, so how you conduct... Oh, sorry guys. Look at that. That wasn't cool. Okay. Let's do this. I got this on a different type of phone. Okay. There we go. I hope everyone's all right out there. See? Call the real world. Let's see if everyone's still out there. Yeah. So, okay. Okay, just like the pawn shops, you got, yep. You definitely do. You gotta have actually one good song. If they don't want, yep. Exactly. It's a different world we live in now. DB Cisco, what is happening? Back in the day, I usually contract, yep, for a percentage of the cover. Yep. Yep, there is a lot of ways, and you know what? I'm glad that everyone is sharing their experiences because it's really, yeah, don't quit your day job. DB Cisco, you nailed it. Zach Thong, what's happening? Janice Lala, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I watch a lot of RV channels. Yeah, Janice. I'll tell you what, it is an interesting lifestyle that's out there. It's something that Deb, as a little girl, she used to always go camping. And her mom used to, as a little girl, well, before World War II, in Birmingham, England, they used to do a lot of camping. And they'd bring their beds, their furniture out there. It was, different. So she's always been camping. And I think it's really cool. You get to see places. All the shows we did through Colorado and in Arizona, we drive through the Rocky Mountains and drive through Utah. You see the archways. I got videos. When I can find these videos, I'll put them up on YouTube and see if I can find some of the video footage when we were over in Brussels, Belgium, and the town of Antwerp. And there was another town. And then when we were in Ireland, we were in Waterford, Killarney, and Dublin. And all these places, man, it's just absolutely beautiful, and it's such a great experience. And you don't have to be a musician to go and check these places out, Sometimes when you're not the musician, you get the best of it because you're actually there, you're not there to put on a show. So you're not on a tight schedule. When you're on a tight schedule, it's like, Dave, when you're over there, did you go see this? No, I couldn't. Why? Because we had to go do a show and then we had to hurry up and do another show. It's how it is, man. But it is a great way to see everything, But yeah, I agree. If you don't have to quit, don't quit your day job if you don't have to. And I'll tell you what, I will never look down on anyone because they have a day job. Man. You know what? They're smart. You're smart by doing that because see, now you could fund your own music. How many times, and I think of Guitar Hack, if you're still in the channel, how many times did you go out to a club and there's certain songs that you really, really don't want to play, It's like pulling teeth, because you know what happens. You got to learn how to play that song. So that means you got to listen to it like however long it takes to learn it, right? And then you got to convince yourself that you like it. And I'm not saying it's not fun. One of the busiest bands I was in that made the most money at that time was a top 40 band. And, we were gigging 5 to 6 sets a night, 5 to 6 nights a week, man. I mean, they worked us. Well, that was back in '87. So, and then during the day, I was able to quit my day job, and I'd be in the metal bands during the day. And at nighttime, I'm playing Kool and the Gang or Billy Ocean or Whitney Houston song or something. But I took it as a challenge. And for me, because I do like a lot of, jazz fusion and classical guitar as well as metal, I started looking at these situations. What happens if these people approach me and they want to hire me, Am I really as ready as my mind thinks I'm ready, So I would just do as much homework as I possibly could. And it wasn't always shredding, I would do different techniques. That's how I started developing certain techniques. And, being a big Al Di Meola fan and other jazz fusion and jazz guitars. Like there's a great jazz guitar player out there, Jimmy Bruno, and he's traditional jazz. But man, I seen him do, I seen him do, and I can't do it with a pick. It's weird, but it's equivalent. It's equivalent to doing this while he has the pick. See, for me, I gotta do it with my fingers. He's able to do it with a pick and nice and smooth like that. So I got a lot of respect for him. But when I was with this top 40 band, I remember we did this gig at the Holiday Star Theater, the Holodome, and we were in, like, there was a big area where they had a swimming pool, and it was a huge open, like, I don't know, just a huge open area, and it was like, I don't know, 7 stories high, and the band Cameo was watching us, all of us play. And they had that song that was popular back in the day called Word Up. And I remember me and the bass player were walking down the hallway during one of our breaks, and the guitar player, he seen me and he goes, "Damn, man, you got some killer chops, blah, blah, this, that." And, I thanked him. And I didn't realize he was in the band Cameo until when they went in by the door, and then we got a chance to meet everybody, just real briefly. And I thought, holy crap, if something were to happen and this guy were to invite me to say, "Dave, I want you to come after your show. We'll talk with our producer, and would you be willing to be as a stand-in guitarist or anything like that?" I started really thinking, if I ever had these options, am I really that ready? And so that's when I started to learn more of it. It's more than just being a good guitar player. Of course, you got to be a good guitar player, but you got to be very easy to work with, and at the same time, be firm. Don't get suckered. It's it could be very challenging. And I was in my 20s back then, so I mean, when you're young, you just whatever anyone says, okay, I just want to play. But I always viewed it being that way. So let me get on to now the subject of what I titled this. If you're going to hire musicians, this is what people need to be aware of. Both musicians and the parties that are hiring musicians for any type of an event. Okay, one thing you got to be, you have to be aware of is for the people that is going to hire a musician or a band. My suggestion is communicate with whoever is the band leader or whoever's going to sign that contract or whoever your person that you're communicating with. Get in contact with them. Have good communication, because you see, if you have a full band, whether it's a 3-piece, 4-piece, whatever, if you have a live drummer and you're going to do anything outside, and I've been in situations like this, so, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's drummers out there that know I'm going to be coming from with this. And you're going to have the band set up in, let's say, a yard area, grassy area. Try to get the ground as level as possible, because I've been in situations when I've got hired for classical guitar where I'd be sitting and I'm leaning forward because the ground, I'm on an incline and I have to face the audience, and that's the only way. So I would try to get something to, like some bricks or something to kind of level my chair. Sometimes not easy for a drummer, because it's not just the drum throne, it's the whole drum set. And if everything's kind of like off, it's going to be kind of tough for the drummer to really play at their peak performance. And it's going to affect tempo, it's going to affect rhythm, it's going to affect the whole band. Another thing to take in consideration when you're hiring a band or a musician or a DJ, get them as close to an outlet as possible. If anyone's ever done any type of construction out there, you'll know about voltage drops, okay? Now, thank God, as a guitarist, we don't have anything that's going to draw a total of let's say, 17 amps if we plug into a 15 amp circuit. Nor do we have anything that starts up, that spikes, like an AC unit. And I'm going to touch on this subject too real quick. So what will cause circuits to trip? It's not the your running circuit. It's your starting circuit. And the reason why I know that, I used to be a heating air conditioning contractor, and I went to HVAC school for all that. And Deb and I, we were with an organization, a trade organization called RSES, and it stood for Refrigeration Service Engineers Society. I'm not a smart person. I try to apply myself. These guys, I mean, brilliant. You know what? If Guitar Hack is still out there, Guitar Hack, I think, also teaches electrical in a college. Guys, I'm sorry if I'm missing anything, because you see now the chat just came on. Look at this. For anyone that had to leave, you guys, I hope you have a great day in that. Yep, Brown Eyed Girl, Mustang Sally, etc. You know it. Yeah, Guitar Hack, you know it, man. That's why I say if a person has money and they want to do their show, like what we've gone back to doing before this whole virus hit, was renting the places, doing ticket sales, and putting our own production. And our production it's an instrumental guitar show. There's there's no singing unless I get a vocalist. This is a different type of a show. It's for people who love instrumental guitar music. And I know not everybody does, and they could still be my friends. But at some point, if you're going to spend your money, if you want to buy a Les Paul, then why are you going to buy a Strat? You want to buy a Les Paul, right? You buy a Les Paul. It's your money. And honestly, guys, it really is the way how the industry really is done. It's just done with producers, with agents, and people, someone else's money. But anytime you pass by an arena, they rent out that arena, whether you're going to do a concert, whether you're going to do a stage play, whether it's going to be an ice skating thing, whether it's going to be a sporting event, they rent out the place and they turn around and sell tickets. That's really what it is. And some people have told me, well, that's one way you could do it, but that's a pay to play. Well, it's paying to put on your performance. So in a way, it is a pay to play, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do it, 100% what you want to do. And you advertise it that way, and you let people know that, no, this is not this. So if it's not for you, that's fine. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Everyone does want to sell tickets, but I think what happens, you start to lose yourself when you try to please everybody. That's when you just lose yourself. But now, on the flip side, of a person in a cover band, that's what they want to do. By all means, you do what you want to do. Because I'm not going to get on here and say, you shouldn't do that because I'm doing this and you need to follow. No, you do what you want. As long as you're happy and that's really what your heart tells you, I'm happy for you. And I will be the first one to say, yeah, you're the real deal because that's what you want to do. Okay. Now, let me just really quick say this because I don't want to be jumping around a lot. But what I was going to say, I think Guitar Hack, you still teach at a college. And so anyone that teaches any type of electrical, any trade association, you guys got a lot of knowledge with that, a lot. And I almost forgot what I was going to go with that situation. But, what happens to be with watching your voltage drop. If you have a 50-foot cord and you're plugged in, or even 100, I think you definitely it'll happen with 100-foot. Because I've seen this happen. I actually burned out one of our skill saws because we were plugged in to I think the amp draw was a 15 amp outlet, and our skill saw was rated at 12 amps. Could be wrong, but it was very, very close. And we had 100-foot. We had to plug down way in the basement because we were doing new construction, and that was the only place we had power. And we had to drag that extension cord way up into the attic area. And what happened was As soon as we fired up the skill saw, it started smelling. We burned out the bearings. We burned out the motor because of a voltage drop. Because you see, when you start up any type of an appliance, you could have a peak. So this is going to be important to know if anyone out there is interested in RV life living, And there's this thing called a soft start kit for your AC units. I think only one time I installed a hard start kit on a condensing unit. And I don't mean to take you off on a different tangent here. Lower the voltage, yeah, it causes higher amp draw. Yep, exactly. This is what happens. And I'm going to try to stay on point here because it's going to affect you as a musician if you got too much stuff plugging out of one outlet and you don't know this and the homeowner don't know this and you've been paid in full and things start to go south. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. And it'll start, especially if you burn something up by like the circuit board or the breaker box, which normally it doesn't happen with musical equipment, but if you got enough going on, it could potentially, or it could just destroy your gear, But let me get back really quick with the soft start kit on RV AC units. I seen just yesterday a video, an engineer was talking about this. On an AC unit that, let's say, draws 30 amps, because a lot of RVs they'll be rated either at 30 amps or 50 amps. When you start that AC unit, your amp draw spikes. And I'm pretty sure this guy said it's at startup, it'll spike between 34 to 37 amps on startup. That's when you hear your AC unit go boom. It's that instant start. It spikes. You're plugged into a 30 amp out circuit. And this is why things start tripping and start breaking. And you probably say, well, wait a minute. My AC is supposed to only be 30 amps, or let's say 15 amps, whatever, but it's this huge spike starting. And then when it comes back down, it's running amp draw is usually about like 14 amps or something like that. I can't exactly remember, but you got it. Yes, brownout, exactly. This is why, and I'm not a certified electrician. It's been, the last time I was on a job site doing HVAC was March of 2007. What is happening, John Harden? I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. And anyone else that is tuned in that I haven't seen on the chat, I thank you for tuning in, guys. I'm not trying to ignore. Sometimes I can't see on the screen. So this soft start kit. This guy, there's a video. I wish I would have wrote down what this guy's video was, but he actually had it where the soft start kit, it will peak, the amp draw will peak, I think, at 17 amps or something like that, but for a longer duration of time, and then it'll come back down. So when you're on your running circuit, it's lower amps, but it's always your starting circuit. You ever notice on some of, especially the older washer and dryers of your dryer? And this is something my instructor told me this way back in HVAC school. He used to say, when you hit that button and it goes click, that's not click like a push button, click, it's on. Yeah, multiple loads in parallel draw more. Yeah, you're right. See, exactly. Now, Guitar Hack, you're a qualified electrician, even though I think you teach in school. But you see, when you teach, you're always doing research. So you're very, very current on all this. I only had to know it because when I was installing, and I had to do it because it was our company too. So, how embarrassing if you're the owner, you don't know what the hell's going on out there. And sometimes I didn't understand certain things, so we would hire people that were smarter than us, but we would pay them good. Never be afraid of that, but don't give out your secrets. That's the secret, you know, because you could hire somebody that knows how to do something better than you, but they might not know how to run a company. And I didn't know how to run a company other than Deb helping me. And when I figured out the name of the game, I took that skill set and I applied it to music. So the name of the game, ultimately, price wars, negotiating. How do you talk with people? How we would have to talk with builders. Um, and I'll tell you what, Deb is a very, very quiet person and very shy. But I'll tell you what, man, she could be very tough. Very, very tough. And there are times she had to put liens on these houses, and these were $1 million homes, and these builders were big shots, and she wouldn't budge. She would not budge. Yes. Yes, you're licensed. Yeah, you have to be licensed. That's what, yeah, I was a licensed HVAC guy. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Never be embarrassed if you don't know how to do something. Don't you know what, the worst thing you could do is say, well, I'm a man, I'm supposed to know how to do it, I'm going to do it, damn it. Be very careful. We had a plumber come out yesterday, or the day before yesterday, put in a new kitchen sink, and then we have old plumbing pipes, so I thought he needed, and he said, no, we're good. Okay. Now a guy at Home Depot says, oh yeah, you could do it yourself, you could do this, that. When it comes to electrical and plumbing, if you have even this much of a doubt, don't do it. Don't do it, because you know what? You're going to be stuck to it. So if you mess something up, you remember, it's going to be on you. And if you live in a place that it's homeowners, HOA, homeowners association, just man up and say, you know what? I don't know how to do this. I'm going to hire somebody. And then if they want to call you sissy or anything else, just remember one thing. You'll only get to spend money once. Especially if you get someone that's licensed and qualified. You see? Because if you don't, you're going to spend money 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And then, why? Just to say, yeah, but I'm a man, I could get it done. Yeah, but your wife's going to say, look how much money you spent. It's going to be embarrassing, you know what I mean? So DB Cisco, that's interesting. You was an industrial electrician for many years. And I had an electrical card, but not a license. As long as you didn't get 3, yep. Yeah, see, you got to be very careful out there. Oh, that's in Tennessee, yeah. Yeah, and another thing is when you relocate to a different state, if you're going to get back into the trades, find out what's required in that state, in that county. You got to do your research, man. Because that's what we had to do. Oh, cool. I'm a commercial and maintenance electrician who dabbled in. Oh, you dabbled in industrial work too. I know when I was with the trade association, Deb and I, we were both with the trade association because we had the company. And there are times Deb would come to the classes with me, and a lot of it would be geared to commercial and industrial. And they take us. Now this was in in DuPage County, Illinois. So we'd go to DuPage Airport and have classes there. We used to have classes at it used to be old waste management building, and in the back they'd take us in the back to show us the chillers on how they work and everything. And I thought my area of expertise and my focus is going to be residential and construction. But I thought it's good to understand this stuff, because if I find myself in the bind, now I got, guys, the family, you know what I mean? You're kind of like in a circle, a family circle in the industry, and you can reach out to people for help. And people were very helpful, just like it is with the CDL. Now I got a CDL license, and people in the trucking industry and any type of transportation, we look after each other. This is how that is. Oh, Dale Palmer, what's happening, man? I really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you you tuning in. Yeah, I went from industrial to robotics tech around 1985. Oh, wow, man. Yeah. A lot of things I wish I would have done when I was younger. I went to trade school in 1999. and then I worked for a couple of companies, and then I took my test to get my license. Uh, yeah. In 2000. Yeah, that's you know what Guitar Hack. That's around the same time that I got my license. Or no, that I got my license a little after that. I was working for a couple of companies because I graduated HVAC school in 2000. No, 1999. Yeah. And then I started working for a couple of companies, took my test, got my license, and then I had to lay real low, man, because when you're working out in the field and those builders come in, you better dummy up because your boss finds out you're talking, and that builder gives you the blueprint for the next house. You're gonna piss your boss off, man, big time. So I was dummied up, and it was very, very challenging to do, man. Holy crap. Because they knew I went to school. I had a situation where we were working on this house, and there was this guy watching me hang the ductwork. And what I used to do to get things done fast, I bought these things called clamps, and there's a chain. So we would put our supply lines 8-foot increments. And we would measure where the takeoffs would be for the floor registers, and then we'd mark them. And then we'd mark everything on the duct. So we would put together the ductwork with the takeoffs, and it fit right into the bay, and everything would fit. Boom. So, but it would take two guys. So what I started doing, because you know how it is when you're working out there and the boss is not there, it's jerk off time, the radio's blasting. So I thought, screw this, I want to get this shit done. So I took my duct hangers and I put them up against the two joists. And I grabbed two ladders and a scaffold. Grabbed that trunk line, because it's not heavy at all. Took it, fed it through my duct hangers, and had it hanging. So this part of the duct, I was able to turn around, walk it up, pop it in, put in my drive cleats, grab my S cleats as hangers, secure that, and now that part is hooked up. So I'd walk down here, that would be hanging down, and then we would pre-install our duct hangers. And all they were was a bunch of drive cleats we'd cut off, and we'd just make hangers out of them. Zip, zip, put them in the joist, grab it, hold it up with my head, grab the things down, grab my drill, done. Well, this guy is watching me do this, and he happened to be from the sheet metals union. He's handing me his business card. He's following us around because we were having a battle. We were a non-union company, and we were out there working, and this guy's a union. So he's trying to grab all his non-union guys that were good to get him with the union. Problem was, I'm getting ready to leave this company so I could start up my own. And the problem is, back then, a lot of the builders in the custom homes, and these were the homes that would sell from $750,000 to $3 million range. Those builders, maybe they were not big builders that had all this development, but at the time, they had enough homes that if you're a startup company, trust me, you could make some serious money out there. And part of their strategy was, if you don't need to hire a union contractor, but he's licensed and he's good, then don't, because you got to pay union wages. So this is how the builders were able to save money, and this is how we were able to figure out, how to play the price wars. So that's how I started getting some of these contracts. But that's why I didn't join the union, because I was going to leave anyway. Now you're probably thinking, what the hell does this have to do with music, Dave? You were on a you were getting to the good point about plugging stuff in when people hire musicians. Sorry, guys. I just, so you could show a little bit of my credibility of that. I do know a little bit about this that I'm talking about, especially when you plug stuff in, you're going to be popping breakers. When you're in these expensive homes, or if you're in like any type of a museum type, there's this place. It's called the Baker Hotel, downtown St. Charles, Illinois. We did a couple of gigs there. We got hired to do a couple of gigs, and they had us in their lobby. And their lobby, since it's an old historic building, their lobby, all the outlets was 2-prong. Well, you know, everything that we have is 3-prong. There was no ground. So thank God we had the adapter that go from 2-prong, 3-prong to 2-prong, but you got to watch what you plug in. So here's the things that you may want to watch for. For people who are hiring musicians, communicate with the musicians. Find out how big the band is. If it's a solo act, find out what kind of gear. Because as guitar players, we have pedals. And I could always break down my pedal board. But if I couldn't, I would need a designated area so that no one would trip over it. So I would always tell the event planner or the person hiring us that, listen, I would always give an extra 2 foot square foot parameter around where I'm going to be standing. Part of it is, and this happens, guys, they'll hire you and they're going to pay you good, but they're going to put you in a small corner and people walk by. Now, if I'm not holding a guitar, I could have this much of an area. That's fine. But guess what? I have the neck. Now, if I'm a bass guitarist, my neck is even longer. Do you realize there are people that they don't even think about this? They'll put you in an area like this. There'll be like a half of a wall here, but this area is open and people are walking through and, they're going to have a big dinner, let's say, but they want to have their guests to be entertained. So they're going to hire a guitarist. He's going to either sing or he's going to play. In my case, it was playing. So the last thing you need is someone walking, and next thing you know, they're going to crash into the headstock of the guitar. So you're playing, and you got to go like this. But you got to be careful because someone's right there. They want to talk to you. Oh, you don't want to hit them. So do you realize when you're playing, let's say you're playing a jazz guitar or classical guitar, anything that does take a little bit more focus on the guitar, and if you start going like this and like that, then that's when the notes, sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, it starts to sound like you don't know what the hell you're doing. You know what I mean? And especially if they're paying you all this money. So this is what I mean. It's so critical for an event planner to communicate. And it's so important for the musician to communicate with the event planner. Now, I have it packed in my case. I'm going to go grab it real quick, if you guys don't mind, because I have to show it to you. I think some people don't know what a footstool is, but you need to see this. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, this is kind of important because there are some that might, even if you don't play. Okay, for one thing, I always bring a lot of my stuff in, believe it or not, in a Stanley roller construction box. You can put all your tools in. Cost me $40 at Home Depot. I have an SKB case for the Marshall. It's nice, but it's like over $300. And it's a little bulky, and I don't really need it for some of these gigs. So I could put everything in this Stanley cart. But if you get hired doing a high-end corporate gig, and you're in a very, very exclusive, either a house or a museum type or a custom home, and I've been in these situations, and I'm sure some of you might have been in there. There are places that will hire musicians to play, and the place is extremely elegant, or it's a mansion. And some of these places, like down here, they'll sell for like $20 million, but they want people. They're going to have a big event that's going to spotlight the house. and they're gonna have caterers in. Of course, you gotta dress real nice, and they're gonna have music, and they prefer instrumental music because they still want to talk. Now, it's gonna look kind of tacky if I'm playing, and let's say I have my little speaker, portable, my Roland PA speaker on top of a Stanley toolbox. So we grab something like this that you find like nice tablecloths, and we cover it up. You know what I mean? So it doesn't look bad. Now, here's something with a footrest. If you play classical guitar, or even if you just want to look cool and just have your footrest, that's what this is for. Okay, now, they have rubber feet. Okay, but I still have them there. Sometimes they start to get worn off. Sometimes those rubber feet fall off, and you got metal. I always bring a really nice, elegant looking towel with me. Preferably if I could have it black, so that I could put this on. And I also have a drum throne with real nice, big, thick, rubber padded legs. I have been at the Baker Hotel in downtown St. Charles, Illinois. Where I was playing at, I was literally set up on a marble floor. And the building was like over 100 years old. The marble was over 100 years old. I've been in these places where the flooring was over 100 years old, almost 200 years old. Hardwood floors. They don't want any scratches. You're going to be in these situations, or if you are in these situations, these are things you got to think about. If you're going to roll your gear, make sure the wheels are clean. Back up in Illinois, when we would do these gigs, sorry guys, I didn't mean to ignore anybody. And I don't mean to be jumping around, but I have to, this is all to show you the credibility, and also some things to think about, especially if you're going to gig live, and in this situation. Back up in Illinois, there was a couple like museums. Well, we did play an event at the Field Museum downtown Chicago, and I was very honored that the guy hired me. And we played in an area where they had like their live snakes and their cats and all that. Pooh Ninja, what's happening, man? Thanks for tuning in. And the tickets, they literally sold for $240 a pop, because they had all these international artists all over the world. Huge event at the Field Museum. We got paid. We made sure we got paid. That's a different story for a different time there. But when you're in these very old buildings or anything that's historic, you gotta watch the floors. And in the wintertime, we have salt on, to melt the ice. They get stuck on their shoes. That's why I try to bring extra pair of shoes. And on the wheels on your cart, they get stuck on that cart. So we have a like a dirty rag. We wipe those wheels off and roll, wipe. It's very important, because these people that are going to pay you good, and they'll pay you good, but they're going to watch everything you do. Another gig we had was for Lucas Oils, and it was a fundraiser for cancer. And I knew I was in somewhere that this guy was somebody, okay? Because they had us set up in their clubhouse. First of all, when we got in, we had a buzz in at the gate. The guy came out with the golf cart. He escorted us up this long driveway to the area. The clubhouse area was over in this, this would be this area. The guy's mansion was over here, and it was mammoth. It was huge. So I'm playing in this nice, beautiful lobby, and I noticed there's this, cornerstone type of, like a little monument thing. And it's one of the Super Bowl. It's like a Super Bowl ring or Super Bowl emblem and that. And I don't really follow sports that much, but found out as the owner of the Indiana Colts, that's his property where I got hired to play at. First thing we look at are the floors. The absolute first thing. And it was such an honor, and I got a chance to meet the guy. He was very, very nice to me. And again, I'm dressed up nice and make sure my shoes are clean. I had the electric guitar, so I was able to play a lot of. See, when you play jazz fusion, you can kind of rock it out a little bit, but you got to know how to where that fine line is. That okay, now you're just being obnoxious. So go back to being elegant. So it's there's a little fine line there. But I always bring the nylon string guitar because I could play that style. And so I let them know that, hey, this is your event. I'm not the star. You guys are the star. That's another thing is how you conduct yourself. If you go in with an attitude that, well, I'm knowing and I got this and I got that, that's gonna be your one and only time that you're gonna have that gig. Because we had a situation. It was a function for a Christmas show. And ironically enough, I did this show, I think 5 years in a row. They left they left to go down to Texas 2 years before we came down here. So I think they left in the last time we did their gig was in 2014, and then they left to go to Texas. This was still up in Illinois. So, but 2 years before our last show there, this guy hires a very famous blues rock artist from Chicago. And ironically, the sound guy was the guy that bought Deb's old sound company. So some of her PA speakers and her board and the big spotlight they were using. And it was really cool because Deb says, hey, my old board still works. She had this huge Yamaha board. And it was great. And they hired me to play flamenco guitar for cocktails in one room. It was at the hotel. It was at the Hilton in Lisle, Illinois. Now, if you're going to host an event or you're going to be a hired musician and you're going to play an event at a hotel, keep in mind you are not the only event at that hotel. When they have other banquet halls, they might have other events. And in this situation, down and around, down the hall, in the next banquet room, that was quite a distance from where we were having our event. There was a wedding going on. So this guy rents out 2 rooms. The big room here, I was playing cocktail hour in the little room. The blues rock star was playing the main show. But in the contract, the deal was, in between the Blues Rockers show, he took a break, and then I did a Christmas show, a rockin' Christmas show. So, I'm playing flamenco guitar, he plays blues rock. So I did it was kind of like Trans-Siberian Orchestra type, neoclassical Christmas rock. And I did a couple of blues numbers, but I didn't want to do too many because they already had the blues artists. And I did not play behind. I did a little bit of playing with my teeth, but not behind my head because I know he did that. So I wanted to show him respect. But I threw the guitar around just for the rocking show. And I only had, I think it was like a half-hour set while he was out signing autographs. So this is what I mean by respecting people as well as respecting the guy that signs the paycheck. So when I meet this guy, the blues rocker, he didn't even want to look at me because he remembers that's the guy that was playing all that shreddy stuff. It's called flamenco guitar. That's what I was hired to play. And I'm not trying to upstage anybody, but that's what the guy hired me. And for the last 3 years, I was doing that. So I'm in this little room, little guy, little man, little nobody playing my thing. Then I go on stage. I went to shake this guy's hand. He didn't want to shake my hand. He didn't look at me. I'm like, okay, this guy's head is like this. I get on stage. I'm not going to announce the name, but I announced his name. And I says, let's give it up for so-and-so, man. Great blues artist. Yeah, great. I do my thing. He's out signing autographs. All of a sudden, everyone starts to come in to watch my show. They leave him. And he gets pissed, and I'm like, whoa. But he didn't come in, like, yelling or anything. But I could tell he got pissed off because when I was done, I announced, all right, guys, give it up for Mr. So and so. It's such an honor for him to be here. I want to thank the owner of the event that has been so gracious to hire me all these years, and he's such a great guy. I want to give it up to all you people. This is such an honor to be here. I want to also give a shout out to the hotel for them hosting and letting us have this event here. These are great people. Please be polite to them, and have a great evening, and God bless you guys. So I leave the stage. Everyone is shaking my hand, which is nice, except the blues star. I go to shake his hand and says, man, you're an awesome guitar player. I really respect you. He walks right past me, man, like I'm a piece of crap. So I'm thinking all along while he's pulling this little game, he's riding the coattails of his father, but he can do what he wants. Okay. But I'm thinking, this guy's making a big mistake. All along, he gets back on stage, the volume shoots up monumentally. Now, it's getting toward the end of the event, and everyone had dinner. So they're kind of like got the food coma thing. So they're sitting in their chairs, and they're not yelling out his name, and they're not going like this, yeah. They're kind of like, you know how it is when you eat too much. Now you're kind of relaxed a little bit, but you still want to enjoy the show. This guy gets back, and I couldn't believe I saw this. He plays the first song of his second set. He's done playing, and it's rocked out, man, and it's loud, man. Now it's even louder than it was before. He's done playing his song, and everyone's like, yeah, okay. He gets on the microphone and says, come on, man, I thought this was a Christmas party. What's wrong with everybody? Come on. The guy that is paying us, the guy that hired us, the guy that's been having these events at this hotel for the last 5 years, gets up, he looks at this guy, he shakes his head, he walks right out. I'm thinking, oh, dude, you just pissed off the guy that's going to sign our paychecks, man. What the hell's wrong with you? I'm thinking this. I'm not saying anything. So he leaves, and then we watch a couple more songs, and it's getting louder and louder, and the guy's a little bit more obnoxious and noxious. I'm thinking, dude, this guy, this is a superstar here, but he's got nothing between his left and right ear, man. Absolutely not, because you don't disrespect these people. You respect the people that come out to see you, and if they ask you to turn the volume down, you turn the volume down. Well, I had to use the restroom. So I go to use the restroom, wash my hands and everything, and I'm coming back. And as I'm getting ready to come back into the room where the big event is and the big star is, here comes a lady with the manager of the hotel. And she's all pissed off. It's too damn loud here. My daughter's getting married, and we're trying to enjoy ourselves. What about us? We paid you all this money. And here's the hotel manager. He goes, I know, ma'am. Yep, you're right. And she is right. Because when I was playing, my volume didn't go to number 10. I kept my volume on like number 5. You know what I mean? So only people in the room could enjoy it. I don't need to blast it out onto the Kennedy Expressway for everyone to hear it. You know what I mean? But nope, not this guy, because he's a superstar. And I'm going to tell you something. Even if you are a superstar, you do not piss people off that don't like your music, that don't care about you. And this lady, she doesn't listen to blues, so she could give a damn what this guy's claiming to fame is. So they go into and they made the room where the event is. They talk to the sound guy, you talk to the owner. Now the owner comes back, and you keep it down. Mr. Rockstar, of course, his amp has to stay on number 11. And for a blues guitarist, I've saw more pedals on this guy's pedal board than what they have on display at the music stores. Remember back in the day, blues, you take a chord and you plug it into the amp, and that's it. Not this guy. Now, I'm not mentioning the guy's name. He's a great guitar player. Maybe he learned a lesson, because I'll tell you what happened the following year. Guess who got hired to do the event, and guess who did not get hired? Deb and myself, we got hired. That guy, we don't want him back. Yeah, but he's a star. It doesn't matter. You got to be very respectful to people, because you see, if you let your head explode like that, people don't forget it. And when they're signing your paycheck and you're insulting them and you're pissing them off, they're never going to have you again. You're not the only player in the game. That's how it really is. So you got to be careful of your volume. You got to be careful, and it's not, it's just, a lot of this is just common sense. It's like when you go to meet somebody and they say hi to you, you say hi back. You don't go like this. They say hi to you and you're like this. Oh, yeah, hi. Yeah. Really? I don't know. Some people, they have these issues. And this is what I mean. And over all these years of playing and running into this type of a personality, when I was more fired up, I would say something, and then of course Deb would nudge me, don't say anything. Okay. I'm not gonna say anything. Because you see, it's not just me. My wife is involved in this too. So I keep my mouth shut. But I record this in my memory banks. And I stay away from certain people that want to play star and let them do their thing. Okay? Because I know what the end result is. The end result is you're getting paid to do a job. Could you imagine anybody that works in the trades? Yeah. Anyone that works in the trade. Could you imagine you get hired to do someone's plumbing work, HVAC work, electrical work, other than what your work consists of. And you know that there is safety issues and there are certain rules that you have to follow. Otherwise, you could burn their house down or you could flood the whole place. Common sense is common sense. So, I mean, smart people don't even act like. But could you imagine you walk in and you're supposed to hire me because I'm the best and I'm professional and you're not. Could you imagine having that type of an egotistical? I always remember, it used to be the Yellow Pages phone book. The owner of the home could bring out the Yellow Pages and say, you're one of many that's in the Yellow Pages, slam the door by, you know what I mean? That calls somebody else. It's like that with music too. That's why you have to, you got to be polite. It's not just about being a good musician, but you got to communicate too. And there does come a time when you have to exercise firmness, but being polite about it. Meaning, you cannot let people push you around and sucker you and say, well, I had this happen one time where we showed up. We always like to show up to a gig at least an hour before. But there are times if there's traffic, we get there at least a half hour before. And we're getting ready to set up and they'll say, you don't go on until 1 o'clock. Well, yeah, but I have to set gear up. I have to make sure everything's going to work. See, it's not like the old Roadrunner cartoon where Wild Coyote, he orders the suitcase from Acme and he opens up the suitcase and everything, boom, it's set up. I really wish it was like that, especially at teardown when you're tired, but it's not like that. So you have to be one of the first persons there setting up, doing a really quick sound check, and then you're one of the last persons there. But when it comes to, cleanup, setting up and cleanup, you gotta be aware of your surroundings. You gotta make sure that you got enough room, that you're not gonna be a trip hazard. You have an extension cord, we would tape them down. Always keep some duct tape, and keep in mind that it's not just the silver duct tape. You might have to get the black duct tape, and you might have to figure out a way to tape cords to floors. When you pull them off, you're not going to disface an old historic floor. There's all these little situations that if a person's never been in a situation, you'll never going to realize it until, boom, you're setting up, and then the homeowner or the caretaker of the historical building tells you those floors are 300 years old. I don't want them scratched. I don't want tape residue. I don't want footmarks. I don't even want to see a speck of dust. You got it? Respect the house. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I know it's very tough for some, and some people will come off like they're rude. And I know, trust me, I used to be very, very hot-headed when I was younger. But you learn how to bite your tongue, and you learn how to get through the performance. I had a situation in one performance where the lady during our first season doing these series of shows, she's trying to tell me how I should dress, how I should play my guitar, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I was just, man, my blood was boiling. I'm like, what in the hell is wrong with this lady? You know? Well, what happened was enough musicians were pulling the rock star attitude to her. So she was in charge of like the Chamber of Commerce, and she was in charge of all these events, and she had to get tough because she said, we have some people that are a little bit on the more upper scale, and we hired a rock band before, and all we were smelling weed, and everyone's getting belligerent, and everyone's getting disrespectful, and everything was getting out of control. And so I started to see, okay, I understand where she's coming from. So we did season number 1, and then we did season number 2, and as season number 2, we came right in the middle, and we came agreeing. I said to her, okay, this is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to watch the volume, I'm going to watch my audience, I'm going to watch anything, and if there's something, she wouldn't even let me make announcements. But it's because the previous musicians were rock stars. And that's a problem. So you see, you have to understand the places you're playing at, the people who hire you. And it's not just the musicians understanding those people. The people doing the hiring have to understand the musicians. That's why communication, man, is so important. And these are the gigs that some people will never want to play at because, you see, they want to be stars, and they'll do the festivals. Out of all the festivals, there was only one festival we did in Addison, Illinois, that we got paid really nice, really good. Let me take that back, because there was a festival we just did down here in January. I think it was January, the Art Music Festival. The guy took care of us. He was really good. And that was the first time he took over down in Cape Coral, and I think they moved it to a different area, and that was the first year that they had live music, and I was the opening act, and bam, it was a success. And I was very, very surprised because how well this guy organized this. I'm like, man, this guy nailed it. And so, yeah, he took care of us. But on average, do you know that there's people that go to festivals and they look and they see, wow, the band must be making all this money. A lot of times that money is there for the main touring act or the national act, but the local musicians, you might get $200, you might get $300, you might get no bucks. And be prepared to get no bucks at some of these festivals, because the money is there for the touring act. So I had a situation where I was teaching this girl back up in Illinois, and her dad was managing a local cover band. And he's asking me, one of the big festivals in Naperville, Illinois, they would have 2 festivals during this. The start of the summer would be Rib Fest. A lot of towns have a Rib Fest, But closing summer season, they would have what's called the Last Fling. And it was a closing of summer festivals. I couldn't remember I think it was Rib Fest that they were doing. Anyways, he tells me, hey Dave, what do you think I should tell the guys to get paid? Maybe about $600. I said, honestly, do you guys have merchandise to sell? Like t-shirts or CDs? He says, no, they're just a cover band. They don't write their own music. No, they don't have anything like that. I says, well, I'm going to be real honest with you. Just be aware that you might get nothing. He looked at me, what do you mean, nothing? It's a big festival. I said, yes. When we had Transacoustic Production, we were one of the sponsors of the festival. And I think we almost got a gig out of it, but we got a paying gig down in Indiana that was paying way more than the festival. So we did the festival. Oh, cool music tech. Boss is still pretty cool. I loved the GT1000. Yeah, the GT1000 is a killer pedal. And so are those Katana amplifiers. Didn't mean to go off on a tangent, my friends. So, the point I'm making here on these festivals, expect nothing. Well, what happened was the band did the gig. They got $200 to split between four guys, and he was really disappointed. I said, you got to expect less. Just because you see all these people there doesn't mean they're there to see you, and you're the only one that's going to make the money. So that's why when you get involved in festivals and things of that nature, have an open mind and be prepared that you might not make anything. If you want to start making money, you might have to be the one that hosts the festival, and be prepared that you might just break even on that. So, or have some originals and write your own music and sell your merchandise. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. I know everybody wants to have the most clean, pristine production. If you could afford it, go for it. If you can't, and your production will sound more like a live recording. I mean, not like something from an Emerson boombox, but something that does sound good. That the average person hears it like, hey, it sounds good to me. How much? Go ahead and produce that CD within your budget. Get it to as best sounding as possible within your budget. If you could do everything in-house, put the CD cover together, all of that to help you save money. Do not let anyone tell you, well, that looks like a demo, or that's really not professional. And if you sell it for $10, think of this. If you sell 10 CDs at $10, you just made $100. If you sell 20 CDs at $10, you made $200. And I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but if you blow all your money on a pristine artwork, $5,000 you spend on a photographer. This is what we were told down in Texas. You don't want to spend no less than $5,000. And don't get your kid brother or your dad or Uncle Joe to take the picture. You got to hire a professional photographer. What happens if Uncle Joe is a professional photographer? Nope, you can't do it. You got to hire somebody else. No less than $5,000. Don't let these people take you to the poorhouse, man. I mean, you do what you want. But I have seen people spend tens of thousands of dollars on their CD, and it sits in a box because someone told them it's a demo. See, you can't sell that. Yeah, but I had to spend almost about $10,500. One guy in Texas, he spent over $10,000, and they told him, no, you got to write 10 more songs. You can't sell that. I spend $10,000, and someone tells me I can't sell it. I'm gonna tell them to go. I'm gonna tell them where to go, because that's my money. That's our money. You see, I'm not trying to tell people to be cheap, but just don't be a sucker, because there's people out there, they're going to tell you all kind of crap. And if you don't know, break things down in simplicity. Ask someone that works. You go to Guitar Center, usually there's a PetSmart, right? Go to PetSmart. And if you got your demo and they got a CD player and they say, hey, it's a little bit slow, let's play your CD. And your demo sounds good enough to sell and they're willing to buy it, you mean to tell me you're going to tell that person, I can't sell you it because it's a demo, but yet you need to make money, but I can't sell it because it's a demo? Do what you want, but not me, man. $10, okay, sold. You want me to sign it for you? Here. And that's what we used to do. And we made money. Now, are we big stars? No, we're not big stars. But we made good money. And that's why we started getting all these gigs, and because we're easy to work with, that's very helpful. We communicate with the people that hires us. We ask them questions. Can we put out a tip jar? Can we sell our merchandise? We have contract. They'll sign a contract. One thing we would do is have a non-refundable deposit. And I'm going to tell you why it would be a non-refundable deposit. If you get someone that cancels the gig and you turn down a gig because you're going to do this gig and they cancel, at least you have some money. But what we would do, if we would have to cancel, we would let that person know that, or they could always take a rain check. We would always work with people. But if you If you do not take a deposit and um, they cancel out, and you just turn down a gig that could have paid the same amount or even more or a little less, now you're making no money. You know what I mean? Yeah, back in the day it would be cassettes. I bought a crap ton of demo cassettes and CDs. Yeah, Pooh Ninja. You guys, anybody you ever remember in some of these shopping malls, you'd go in, like, especially around Christmas time, and this would be like in the early to mid 1990s, and you see these kids with these like little carts, and they have all these, a lot of it would be hip hop and rap, but they have all these CDs, and there's some of them look like graffiti was painted on there. Do you know these people would be selling this stuff big time? And people were buying them? And some of them were just like recorded off of a 4-track with a drum machine. And they're selling them. Now, let me ask you a question. How come a rapper could sell a CD that maybe he did with a drum machine on a 4-track cassette recorder, right? How come they could sell that and it's okay? But you as a guitarist, you got to go through all this BS and spend all this money, and then only for someone to tell you, yeah, but that still sounds like a demo. You see what I mean? Be very careful. But again, it's your money. Do what you want. So I know this is, used record shops too. Exactly. If you go back in time, some of the most classic albums we would listen to, the recordings was analog. It would be usually 2-inch tape, 24-track 2-inch tape. And the production, they would do the best that they could with what they had there. Do you know some of the consumer bought standalone digital recorders, the Tascams, the Korgs, the Zooms? Some of their quality is like right there or slightly above these older recordings in the 70s. And it's awfully strange. Someone will tell you, well, that's not really a good recording. And it sounds just as good as something that was recorded in 1975. And they put on the cassette or the 8-track from 1975. Oh, yes, listen to this. Isn't this nice? You know what I mean? So you see what I mean? I'm not telling people that they shouldn't, do the best that they can, but don't blow money if you don't have to. So, when you get hired as a musician, just keep things in mind to communicate with the people that's hiring you. Try to write as much information as you can down. If you think there's a situation that might come up, write it down and don't be afraid to ask the people. And likewise, people who are hosting events, ask the musicians, what is it that they need space-wise, as close to an outlet as possible, because to avoid a trip hazard. If it's a big event, does the musician have insurance? We even have to have insurance to play at the casinos. Don't be afraid to ask these questions, because the last thing you want is a surprise to happen to make you look bad, or the person that might give you more business down the road. You don't want to make them look bad either, because everyone's going to be working together. And that's why it is important to communicate. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, because I've noticed that there's people that do have events. We have a lot of people down here that'll have events. They'll hire us, and then they'll forget certain things. And then I thought, well, you know what? Our friends, I think our friends, the RV Odd Couple, they're going to host an event. I think they already have a band they're playing. They haven't played. I think they're hosting an event in September. And it's going to be a lot of the RVers getting together and just meeting up with each other, because they got a huge channel. They got a huge community. So they want to have a thank you party and things of that nature. So I thought maybe this will kind of help them out with, if they don't have the experience. If they have the experience, then yeah, kudos to you. And you know what? If there's anything that people want to put on this chat right now or in the comments later that maybe I forgot or maybe I just wasn't aware of, by all means, go ahead, because, see, this is all meant to help everybody out. So, especially in a live setting, The last thing you want to do is show up somewhere and we didn't think about this or we didn't think about that. It's another good thing to have. Those headband flashlights. Sometimes we use them for construction. Sometimes joggers will use them. It's a good idea to have those, and with a couple other flashlights. One is if you're doing an outdoor event, in a private event in someone's yard, and they don't have their yard lit up, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and everything's got to shut down. Now you're in the dark. Now you got to grab a black cord. You ever try to find a black cord in the dark against dark green grass? You're trying to find stuff. Have that flashlight. But, and this helped. This helped because we did this gig with our white Les Paul, our Epiphone Studio Les Paul. Because the neck is white and it's got the black inlays, we did not bring any lights at this event, this private event. And then where they had me set up, they paid me extra. A guy tipped me $100, man, to play one song. No, wait a minute. He wanted me to play an extra half hour. And he gives me, we had bunched up. He gives me his hand to play an extra half hour. I said, okay. I thought maybe it was $10 or something. So I stuck it in my pocket. And next thing you know, the homeowner said, okay, guys, we got to wrap it up right now. And it was 10 o'clock. It was actually 10:30. He wanted me to play till 11 o'clock, and I couldn't. And I said, sir, I'm sorry. I was going to give him his $10. No, just keep it. I said, okay, I appreciate it. We tear down. We're in our car. I have to pull it out. $100 bill. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. I thought it was $10. And I was going to give it back to the guy. Some of these events, these people have money. Okay, so what happened was I didn't have any light. And it was dark. And I had to play something really, intricate, So good thing I had the black inlays. So, words of wisdom here. If you're ever in this situation, you have a guitar where your fretboard has got wide markers, or you have it where the side markers are on a white, because on that Epiphone Les Paul, it's black. But the neck is white. The side is black, but it had the black inlays. That helped. Okay. Or have it like with the Ibanez, it's a maple fretboard, right? It's not that I don't know where I'm at, but there are times you're in the situations and you don't want to be clinking and clunking. But if you have that head flashlight band, go ahead and put it on. It can be part of your act, you know what I mean? Because when you look down, you're going to be able to see your fretboard. And then it's not going to be clinking and clunking. And especially if someone hands you a $100 bill to play something, and all of a sudden you're clinking and clunking, and he just gave you a $100 bill, you're not going to feel too good about it. You know what I mean? You're not going to feel too good about it. But it's all these little situations we've been involved in. The Cordova, as people know, a classical guitar has no dot inlays on the fretboard. The Yamaha that's sitting over here and the Cordova has it on the side. But I have a Manuel Rodriguez guitar that has no markers anywhere. Not on the side, not on the fretboard, nowhere. You really got to know where you're at, your instrument, It's good when you're training. It's good when you're practicing. As we get older, our bodies slow down, our eyes are not too sharp, sometimes our ears are not too sharp, sometimes our minds are not too sharp. So, make life as simple for you as possible. Let's see. Dave, I don't play live, but it's interesting to hear the tips. Oh yeah, well, thank you, Dale. I appreciate it. It's only because we've had all these. This is what we've done. These are our experiences, And there's a lot of people on YouTube. Think about it. Everyone has some sort of an experience. And, I've been playing guitar since 1974, but does it mean I know everything? Of course not. I'm just getting like the tip of the iceberg. And trust me, I have learned from people that have only been playing 2 years. I would learn from students that's their first day picking up the guitar. Because you see what happens is we kind of get used to our own. We get stuck in our ruts a little bit, And So we keep moving forward because it's convenient. It works for us. We're in our flow and that we're in our our groove. And when someone brings up a question, it's like, I never thought about that. So you have to keep that open mind. So I learn from everybody. And so even when I was teaching very heavily in Illinois and gigging, so that was like, wow, I don't know how I did that, but it was, yeah, it was, maybe I get 4 or 5 hours sleep. Maybe that's how I drink a lot of caffeine and, go, 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 I guess. But I love what I do, and that helps. But when it comes to gigging and that, there's so much out there. Now, what's going to happen now because of this virus? The gigging world will come back. It's going to be slow. Do not be surprised if, as it starts opening up again and people are afraid to go out to restaurants, they might go back to hosting house gigs. And this is where you're going to be either in their private house or they're going to rent something out, or you might be in a situation, like I said, with the floor. Always watch the floors and the walls. Don't bang into things. When you have to touch the doorknob, touch the doorknob. You know what I mean? Because if you're invited to play at these old places, they watch everything. And the reason why I say that is some of these people might do that, and they might have that little radar gun to take your temperature. All right, they're alive, they're okay, let them in. This guy's like got no temperature, he must be dead, so he can't get. You know what I mean? But the gigging world will eventually open up. It's just going to be a slow process. What is nice with YouTube, if you could monetize, go ahead. But also be aware that the money might not be. I know we make something off it. I gotta ask Deb what we make. Some guy wants a song list from me. Okay, so Janice, before you give that song list, ask him if he's gonna hire you. Ask him if you could give a partial song list. Just to give an idea of what it is that you play. The reason being, sometimes, and I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Sometimes if you don't know who that person is, and you have a rival musician, a rival band, this is what Mike told me that people do down here. So they do it everywhere. They go out to the club, they watch the band play. Then they go up, they check out the gear. When they check out the gear, they check out the song list. And sometimes they take their phone, take a picture of the song list. And then they say, or if they don't remember outright, because sometimes they'll watch, this song got people out on the dance floor. Okay, write that down. Okay, we got to learn that song. This song wasn't okay. Write that down. We're not going to play that. So write everything down, or you take a picture, make notes, what works, what doesn't work. Mike was telling me this. Then they put their song list together, and they go to the same club playing the same songs in a different order. So that's why you have some of these cover bands doing this. So for Janice, be very careful if you give out your entire set list, because how do you know that guy's going to take your set list and he's out there trying to get a gig on your set list? I'm telling him that if he can play, oh, here it shouldn't matter what I play. Yeah, that's very true, Janice. Very, very true. Very, very true. I know look, cover songs, we don't own them, right? We used to do this back in the day. Casey Kasem would come out with the top 100 songs or whatever the hell it was. I couldn't remember, but I would have to have my cassette recording these songs, because the drummer would tell me, Dave, you tell all of us at our meeting, get your cassette tape ready, record the hot song of the week, because we got to learn that song and we got to play it. So that's how we were doing it. Now people are going out there, and it's nothing's really changed, but it's gotten more competitive. And it's not just with the songs, people playing the same songs. Now they'll say, okay, Well, if that band's gonna charge you $500, you're gonna pay them $500. We'll come in and do it $450. Hey guys, you want to do it for $50 cheaper? Yeah, we just want to play. Okay, we'll come in $50 cheaper. Now there's the price wars, you know. So it's a battlefield out there. It really is a battlefield out there. And again, really, what it's going to give you return gigs is making sure you sound good and making sure you're not insulting people. You're easy to work with, and still that's no guarantee because you could have someone that for whatever reason they don't like you and they don't hire you back, and you know it's a wash. So, but yeah, one thing. That's a good comeback, Jen. I tell them that if you could play by ear, it shouldn't matter what I play. Absolutely. Back in 1985, song. Yep. Ooh, yeah. I can barely remember any of them now. Yeah, I know. I don't know if I have a cassette tape of some of the performance because sometimes I would record our set just so I can have, because I listen to the playback and see what went wrong, if my volume's too loud or whatever. Because when you're standing on stage, you're next to the drummer, and you're not hearing what the mains are hearing. You're back here, and even though you have monitors, well, that's not telling you exactly what the mains sound like. And if you don't have a long cord or wireless, you're kind of screwed. So I kind of would archive it. But yeah, as far as getting gigs and when people hire you, communicate and write if you could think that there might be an issue, even bringing water, bringing a snack, and I bring a snack and I stash it behind me or something, you know. Yeah, I imagine not showing all your cards is a good idea, yeah, Dale, just like in poker, don't, that's why I don't walk around the house. Look what I got. Look at this. Look at my studio. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're going to do that, don't advertise when you're not going to be home. Hey guys, we're over in Europe. We're having a good time. We're live. Blah, blah, blah. If you're going to do that, make sure you got good neighbors that's watching the house. So you got a good alarm system. Because, you see, they're going to be watching. And they're going to be taking inventory. Okay, Janice, you have a great one now. Appreciate you tuning in. When we were on our honeymoon and we were in Hawaii, we went to Oahu, Maui, and Molokai. Well, we were on our last day in Oahu having breakfast. And Deb and I are sitting at the table, real nice. It's our honeymoon. We're having a great time. Guy comes up, congratulates us, gives us the spiel. Boy, he's kissing both cheeks and the nose is up to crack and everything. And he wants to sell us property, like in the Cayman Islands and these islands and St. Croix and all this. Ooh, wow. Pennies on the dollar per square foot. All he needs is our address so he could send us the information. So what Deb did, she said, okay. She gave him our office P.O. box, at the P.O. box. He looked at that. He had a frown. Okay. And he leaves. And Deb said, no way am I giving this guy our address. Because he could call his goons. He knows we're down here. Call his goons. Hey, they're on their honeymoon. Go check out the house, man. There's no one there. Go have at it. That's why I'm very, very cautious. And maybe it's because growing up in the Chicagoland area, you don't have to grow up in Chicago to be, you can go anywhere. It's just common sense. If someone is going to scam you, they're going to scam you. Be prepared. Don't give them any information if you don't have to. And always remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it's not only too good to be true, it's too good to be legal. How come you want to give me all this? Why all of a sudden you want to be my friend? What is in it for you? Don't be afraid to ask that question. Because the last thing you need is your bank account drained. And there's a lot of us, we're middle-aged, and your hard work all your years, you see your life savings go right out the, right out the back door. Be very careful, because that's a horrible thing to see, and I don't wish that on anybody. So, but anyways, my friends, I hope some of this information can help you guys out. And for people who are going to hire musicians, whether it's a musician or a DJ, whatever the case might be, just be aware of what the needs really are going to be to make sure that the performance or the event is as flawless as possible. If you're going to do weddings, always have in the back of your mind, nothing's going to go as perfectly planned, no matter how perfectly planned out you have it. We've done tons of weddings where it wouldn't be just the kids, the ring bearer and the flower girl. Sometimes the ring bearer is a dog, you know, and animals and kids have their own minds, and anything can happen. Just go with the flow. And when you're performing, if you can, no one wants to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But the worst thing that a person could do is announce all their mistakes in front of everybody, because you know what? Ultimately, it becomes a killjoy. Those people are there to have a good time, whether they want to see you instrumental guitar, or shred, or classical guitar, or twist balloons and juggle balls, or whatever the case might be. They want to be entertained. The last thing that they want is a killjoy. That moment in time for them is their escape out of reality. So the best thing to do is try to create that atmosphere. So what if you don't have the big backdrop that you may want? Give them an imagination. Try to imagine something, because ultimately it isn't the guitar, the amp, the effects, or the stage, or the lighting. It is you that's going to bring the performance. You could have all that stuff, but trust me, this guitar right here, it ain't doing anything. It ain't playing unless I play it. And if I play it crappy, it's gonna sound crappy. If I play it good, it's gonna sound good. You know what I mean? So it's really up to the performer to bring that atmosphere. So, anyways, my friends, I really thank you for tuning in. And go ahead and check out all these channels: Joe Winch Project, Jim Guidry, Janice Lala, Dale Palmer, Metal Fun Riffs, Metalhead Hippie, Guitar Hack, Ed Dana, Exploring the Local Life, RV Odd Couple. I mean, hit as many of these people as you possibly can, because there's good people out there. Okay, my friends, until next time, we'll see if we do anything live performance on Sunday. I'll announce it. I'll try to get at least a 24-hour announcement, at least 12-hour announcement. But until next time, we love all you guys. You guys are the best. Until next time, you stay safe, you stay true, rock on, and God bless you. Thanks for watching, and take care.